Hi and welcome to the new Rey Media Show. We are happy and honored to be interviewing another great entrepreneur, Desiree, today. And she is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Seaweed and Kove Ocean Foods. Desiree is passionate about living a life with purpose and making a substantial impact in this world by creating permanent, sustainable change. At Kove, they're developing foods with seaweed grown in the pristine waters of the Pacific Ocean. Grown using only sea and sunlight, this carbon capturing plant is truly climate positive, providing the majority of the world's oxygen supply and absorbing megatons of carbon each year. Seaweed is regenerative powerhouse for the earth. And it's not just climate healthy, it's rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Kove Ocean Foods are great for your health too. Desiree, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here. And actually, just a footnote, because I guess we didn't have a chance to connect, but as of this week, I actually have completed the transaction for ownership of Kove. So I am the owner of Kove, and I'm no longer an employee of Cascadia Seaweed, and Kove is actually no longer owned by Cascadia Seaweed. So yeah, I'm excited to share that update with you and your listeners that I have ownership of Kove, which is great.
Oh, that's incredible. Congratulations. That must feel amazing that, having control. Is that it basically?
Yeah, basically, yeah. The brand is mine to control now, and I'm going to be working with some other partners, and yeah, it'll be exciting to see what we're able to do with the brand and our food products.
Why don't we step couple hundred steps back from that and we start with a little bit about yourself. Like, how did your career started? I saw on your LinkedIn finance, co-founder, marketing, sales, director. So give us a little bit of a background on how you started in your career.
Yeah, sure. So I'm in my 40s, so it's been about 20 years of business and entrepreneurship, like you said, finance, marketing. So I always describe myself as a marketing person, as an entrepreneur. And so I did complete a Bachelor of Commerce in International Business at UVic about 20 years ago. And then, yeah, from there, I've just worked with different startup companies. I ended up living in Montreal and working as like the fourth employee at a startup medical company, where I basically, quote unquote, got my MBA because I helped that company. They raised $30 million, and we were doing trade shows all around North America and Europe. And 23, 24, 25 years old, I was instrumental in kind of helping that company with 4 young founders in their early 30s in cancer therapy in the medical space. So yeah, from there, I kind of did a short stint in the wine industry as a brand manager and events planner. And then realized that I didn't want to climb the corporate ladder. And so at that point, I just started my own business with actually my best friend at the time. And we started our own insurance financial planning firm as insurance brokers. And so I know it's kind of weird to go from, like medical and wine, but it's at the end of the day, it's all marketing. And that was my skill. And so when I started my financial firm, my position in the firm was really B2B sales, marketing, lead generation, managing. At that time was when 2008 was when Facebook and Twitter were just coming out, so helping to manage social media. And yeah, we ran that business for 10 years until it was acquired by 2 other financial firms in 2018. And over that period, my business partner, who is also my best friend, totally different things. She had been sponsoring a boy named Ruben through World Vision, and got the chance to meet him and see what his conditions of living were like in the Dominican Republic, and learned that in the Dominican and many countries around the world, if children don't have shoes, they can't go to school. And so she came to me with a small project to collect some shoes to help kids in the Dominican go to school. And that turned into a charity that we've been running for 10 years, Ruben Shoe Society. So I'm currently on the board. I'm the chair of the board for Reuben Shoes, and I worked as an employee for one year after we sold our insurance business. I was an employee of Reuben Shoes, just to help it grow. We grew our budget from $300,000 to $1 million that year, and and so I was doing marketing, events, director of fundraising, and now we have 2 schools in the Dominican with 550 students that we provide the best education in the country over there. And then it was a COVID story with Cascadia. I literally in the spring of 2020, I was helping Reuben Shoes with fundraising and events. We had all these kind of signature events that we were doing, golf tournaments and a mini Tough Mudder for kids and things like that. And of course, all of our international travel in 2020 stopped, all of our events stopped, all of my fundraising activities like coffees and lunches and things like that with donors stopped. And so, I was kind of doing nothing. I was trying to launch my own vegan footwear company, and that's a whole other story about my vegan lifestyle and values. But that had been put to a stop because I was working with a manufacturer in New York to manufacture my vegan Chelsea boots made with cactus leather. And so I was just doing a lot of running and meditating, and I got an email, a text message one day actually from a mentor, and Cascadia Seaweed had been founded 6 months earlier, and they realized the highest and best value for the seaweed that they were going to be growing around Vancouver Island would be a consumer food brand. And so I was invited to join Cascadia as a partner with the intention of launching a food brand, which obviously became Kove. And I would be the face of the brand and really help develop the brand, develop the products, figure out the marketing strategy, the go-to-market strategy, and all of those good things. And so, that's kind of like a long, short story of my 20-year history and career up into this point.
No, it sounds very fun. At least for me, that sounds interesting. That's all the stuff that I'm interested in. I actually started my career, if you could say a career, in my early 20s as a life insurance broker. I did about a year of that, tried to get into I saw I'm just a salesperson, kind of push life insurance on people, maybe financial planning, another couple months of figuring that out, studying, and then I was I kind of hate this field.
It's a tough industry. I feel like I say this often, but I got my sales degree in the 2 toughest industries, life insurance sales and then fundraising for international charity that is focused on poverty. Relationship building, networking, sales, marketing, those are all my key strengths. And it's interesting. It's actually a great field. It's hard when you're young because obviously the most needs for insurance are, people 20 years older than you when you're in your early 20s, essentially. And it's tough. And for us, it was tough for probably a good 5 years. But then I was always saying, because I started when I was 28, and so I was always I'm 30, I'm always trying to be older and have that credibility when I was speaking to people. And luckily we just found our niche. I was doing a lot of employee benefits, so working directly with business owners and that side of it. And then my partner was handling more of the insurance sales. But we also focused on tax planning. So I learned a lot about tax, which is essential in, being an entrepreneur and owning businesses. So that's been really, really handy to learn, and so much on the financial side of things.
No, I bet. Yeah, I didn't have anything going for myself because I was 24 and I had a baby face, and so
you still look young. I was gonna say,
I'm 31 now, so
I would still have a hard time taking you seriously with my insurance needs at the age you are now. So
I can completely understand and get that. So I'm in marketing and business now. So what inspired you to go into Cascadia Seaweed and then, I guess, push and work your butt off to own and now be running Kove Ocean Foods? Is there a passion behind there?
Absolutely. I think, I'm at the point in my life, and even just where the world is at, I think most people now are working in careers. It's value-based and it's values-driven more than anything else that existed in the past. A lot of career was monetarily driven or whatever. And for me, as I've gotten older, my values have just gotten stronger and more important. And like I mentioned earlier, so I stopped eating meat and became vegan in 2008 after realizing the horrible impacts and the devastation of the animal agriculture industry. And when I put two and two together of like the chicken on my plate and what that chicken is and how it actually gets there, I could no longer participate in that industry, from what I eat to what I wear and how I live my life. And so that's been a really, really driving factor for me. And so, yeah, in 2020, when I received that text message, for me, like I haven't been employed, like I haven't had an employer in, like since 2008 as well. And so that's been a really long time. And the reason I decided to join was because the initial text that I received was, I have an opportunity for you. It aligns with all your values. So that immediately was intriguing for me because and when I learned it was seaweed and what seaweed is, A, it's obviously vegan, plant-based, ocean vegetable. B, it's incredibly sustainable. So as I, got more involved in the vegan movement, and even just a consumer on the planet, realizing, like we have to change our ways, our planet needs us, and, sustainability and working towards helping the planet has become extremely important to me as well. And so with seaweed, I learned that, it grows in the ocean. So there's no demand, like we're not cutting down any trees to grow seaweed. You don't have to water seaweed. There's no external inputs like fertilizer or chemicals. And so really all it requires is the sun and the sea to grow. And beyond the fact that it doesn't take away from the planet, it's one of the only crops that, doesn't take away from the planet as it grows. And beyond that, it actually provides positive benefits as it grows. So it helps to mitigate against ocean acidification. It actually helps sequester carbon. We've seen in Cascadia some of the benefits of the seaweed farm, where now the salmon are coming and the birds are coming and the bears are coming, and so it actually contributes to a positive ecosystem as well. And so so that was the reason. And then beyond that, the third and a very compelling factor for me as well is that when I first joined Cascadia, I learned that they're growing and building seaweed farms in partnership with local First Nations in British Columbia. And so for me, with my work with Ribbon Shoe Society and international poverty, I also learned about a lot of, what's going on in terms of poverty with our Indigenous peoples and our First Nations friends. And so that was something, reconciliation and working with First Nations was something that was also a part of my value system and really important to me. And so, it was kind of like that trifecta. And beyond that, it was a branding and marketing opportunity to build and grow a brand. And so it was just kind of like, this like magical invitation to, and so that was the inspiration and the reason that I joined. And then taking over ownership, there was actually just some like background stuff. Cascadia has decided to focus on different verticals for the business, actually more in terms of agriculture and things like that. And so it was just the right time for us to split the brand off, and I was the right person to obviously take it over, and here we are.
So was it a developed product when you got involved, or were you there from the start?
Yeah, I was there from the start. So when I joined Cascadia as a partner in the firm, they had only been around almost just celebrating their first year anniversary. So they were just kind of getting, their roots in seaweed farming. And so we worked with an external marketing agency to come up with the name Kove. They presented us with three options. Myself and the person who actually invited me to Cascadia, Carlos Zarillo, who has spent his whole life in CPG, worked at Kraft, Colgate, and in food manufacturing. So him and I were the ones working with this third-party marketing agency called Crew. And so they would, we told them everything that we were doing, creating, the tastiest, most delicious food products made with BC grown seaweed and the values and the vision for the brand. And so, so everything from literally choosing the name, choosing from the design options of the logo that they would present, to working with three different, food scientists and food chefs, like commercial chefs, product development people, to figure out what products we could actually create with seaweed, and then landing on which products and finding co-packers and manufacturers to help us. So everything. And then running the social, literally building the brand from scratch with a lot of external partners as well.
I used to be I mean, everybody when they're young, they're kind of like naive and complain and stuff. And I used to complain like, well, there's not enough like, healthy snacks. I love snacks. I love eating chips. I love doing that. And I'm like, well, this isn't good, but why couldn't we have snacks that are just good for you and good for the environment, good for good businesses, for everything? And then I'm like, well, stop complaining, do something about it. So I got into the market, right? Something that I've learned from that is there's one thing creating the product and doing the research and all that stuff, and then getting into the market and finding your consumer base. How was that process? Because we know that healthy foods aren't the cheapest, they aren't they're not packed with sugar that fire up your brain, and so it's an uphill battle, even if it's better for you. So how was that, finding that niche and keeping it going and growing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're kind of like still right at the cusp of that. Like we only just about after like a year and a half, almost 2 years of, like creating Kove and starting the brand. It took a very long time to actually figure out, which products. And the hardest part is that we have seaweed, but we are not a manufacturer of food. And so we had to find partners that could help us manufacture the foods together, right? And so that was really challenging. And so we landed on something that is, I think, really spectacular. It's our seaweed-based protein puffs. And we actually worked with the Saskatchewan Food Development Center because we knew we wanted to create like a snack, and we looked at tortilla chips and I don't know, like those actual seaweed snacks that are really popular. And we would love to make those with BC grown seaweed, but that industry for manufacturing just doesn't exist in Canada. And so we couldn't find a way to make the seaweed snacks. And so anyways, with our work with the Saskatchewan Food Development Center, they have an innovation team. And so we were able to develop like extruded puffs made with seaweed powder and pea protein and pea fiber. And so it's really just 2 ingredients, seaweed and pea. And then there's 4 different flavors that are like flavored. And I think they're extremely tasty. They contain protein. So, another like trend that's happening, which I think is not trend is a bad word, because trend means like kind of like it's a short time frame, but I think it's here to stay with, the younger generation. It's eating for purpose, it's functional food. So if I'm going to eat a snack, I might as well get some health benefits from it. I try to limit my sugar and all that. And so, our protein puffs are a 100-gram bag, and they range from 14 to 18 grams of protein per bag, like clean protein from the seaweed and the pea. Very low sugar, less than 4 grams of sugar per bag. And so, finding our niche is just really that demographic, like yourself, it's a younger demographic, because people that are really used to eating cheesies and Doritos and things like that, they're going to find our protein puffs maybe lacking in that like bam flavor in your mouth. And that's because they're not full of like oil and sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
But, someone like yourself, the younger generation, I would say like 40 and younger, who really value tasty snacks, but that are really good for them, and also empower them to make choices that are healthier for the planet as well. And so, we're still defining that niche, and also navigating the retail space is challenging as well. I think there's a reason why it's hard for, smaller brands to break through, because the cost associated, the retailer wants to take up to 40%. Then usually to get into that retailer, you need a distribution partner to, deliver your goods and work with them. And they want to take, 25 to 30%. And so when you look at the margin that's actually available after covering all your costs, especially for us personally, like we have the cost of seaweed, then we have all the costs to develop the product, the labor with the co-packer, plus the packaging. And you have to do all that, for, $1 or $2 essentially to get a product that's going to be $5, $6 on the shelf. And so that space is really, really challenging. But I think the reason why we've seen so much success early on is just because we are the right thing at the right time. Like people like yourself are craving this, are wanting this, and retailers are, looking for products that are going to meet the demand of their consumers, which again are healthier products, good for you, and that are good for the planet too. And we meet that criteria. And so I think that's where we've had, and again, we just came out with this product in October. So it's still very fresh, very new, and we're just continuing to launch.
Could you share a little bit of your experience with pricing? Because from my point of view as well, pricing is very difficult. Like obviously you want to do benchmark on what's out there, but at the same time, you have a lot of investment. Sometimes you don't have your manufacturing, so people invest in manufacturing front, so they have to. It's a tough business. It's an adventure for sure. Can you share a little bit of tips that you've learned along the way for pricing your product?
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of touched on, like if you are, most consumer food products are in retail stores. And so you really have to work backwards from, and again, benchmarking, like if we're selling like puffs, right? There's a lot of different puffs on the market. And if they're around $6, we're not going to come out with a $12 product, right? So you kind of, there is this like benchmark of price that you kind of want to be around, and then working backwards, knowing that the retailer wants 40%, knowing that you're going to have distribution that's going to charge probably 26%, figuring out what your costs of goods are, then integrating, probably like a 40% margin for yourself and your own company to, just to have some profitability plus trade spend. So, you have to invest in marketing initiatives. If the retailer has a flyer, they want you to pay for an ads in their flyer and then provide promotions and discounts. And so, if anyone is listening, I'm happy to work through some spreadsheets that we have to try to figure out pricing. But on that note, I also want to say that yes, there's that formula, but at the same time, I'm a firm believer, most people are like, what's the competition doing? What's our positioning? You know what I mean? And for me, I just believe that if you have a great product that provides a lot of value that people love, then you set the price. It doesn't, in my opinion, and maybe people will blast me, but I don't really care what the competition is doing, because I just think that if we are doing an outstanding job, again, providing value to our customers, meeting their needs, giving them what they want and that they're looking for, then we can set the price for that. And it doesn't matter what the competition is doing, because we know that we're taking care of our consumers and our clients or whatever. And so that's kind of my philosophy on pricing.
No, I agree with you 100%. Some analysts, financial analysts, going to tell us we're completely wrong, but I think that I don't ever look at my competition. Sometimes when we do benchmarking for, we have to do it. But personally, the businesses I work with and I run with, I never look at competition, because I don't care what they're doing. I have a vision and I'm going to work my ass off to get there.
100%.
Yes, it's money. It has to be profitable, but at the same time, I could be doing a million things for money. I want to make this business what I kind of have pictured. So I'm going to work my ass off to do that, and not really, they're doing that, I guess we could do that. But that deviates me from what I wanted to do. So there's enough wealth and opportunity for everybody. So I don't think anything really takes away. Unless you're in the big leagues, that a fraction of a percent is this huge margin and all that kind of stuff. But that's another.
Yeah, I mean, unless your positioning is commodity and you are positioned on price, but for values-driven businesses and products, I think that again, as long as you're within the range of what consumers are okay with spending, and again, if you're delivering value, you know what I mean? Again, our puffs right now are suggested retail price $6.99, but people are so impressed that, they open a bag and it's full to the brim. You're getting a full bag, and you're getting whatever. If you eat a whole entire bag, you're getting 400 and something calories and little sugar. And so the value that you're getting from this bag is just incredible. And so, I'm glad you said that, because I totally agree. I think it's just all about the value and what you're providing. And as long as that's in line, and of course you're covering your cost of goods and can include a margin for yourself to continue to invest in the product and grow and pay your team, then I think that's what's most important.
Quick thought that I had to add to that is, now that businesses are led and created by people like you that want to do good, nothing is impeding them from being almost like the old school nonprofit to, the shoe problem. And maybe you're selling your shoes at an extra, $5 in the market or $10 in the market, but you're mixing too your donation and a product that you'd like it to wear and use, right? So if companies are doing good with their profits and their own things outside. Like maybe you want to invest into that company and buy that product because you like it. And at the same time, it's a little pricier. Yeah, but I'm giving them money because they're doing good stuff, right?
Oh, 100%. Well, and that's totally relatable for Kove and like our food products, because not only when you buy Kove are you enjoying like a tasty snack, but you're also investing in the seaweed industry. And like I said, all the benefits of growing seaweed, like the more, products we sell, the more we can invest in people that are building seaweed farms and leaving the detrimental fishing industry to pivot into something like seaweed farming, which is beneficial for the planet. And so it's like this win-win-win. Again, and I think that's why in this time in 2023, that's what matters to consumers. Like people really want to know, you see it with coffee, there's coffee versus coffee versus coffee, but am I going to buy this coffee where it just tastes good? Or am I going to buy this coffee that I know that it's, contributing to a local farmer in Africa and blah, 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 blah. There's also all these social benefits that come along with, the product that I'm buying. And I think that's what consumers are looking for. They want to know that the product that they're buying is not only just good for that product, but it's also providing more benefits to either the company or the producer or the world in some way. Not just what's in it for me, but what's in it for the planet and the world as well. And so I think that mindset is a total shift from, previous days or previous decades where sales and marketing was really just about price and product. And now it's kind of what's in it for the rest of the world. the social aspect.
Exactly. Like people vote, and for let's say maybe they're not voting politically, but they vote with their money, right? They put their money behind their value. But that leads us to marketing as well, because if you are documenting that process of what you're doing, it's no longer just a press release. Oh, we're doing this and we help this many people, but taking trips to you said the Pacific, right? Where you're growing the seaweed and seeing what good is doing, and just giving that access on social media to the consumer of the things that you're doing. So they're part of it. It's more like a community. They feel even better for purchasing. I think we're in a good place right now with the connectivity.
Well, yeah, and you've seen these big brands over the last few years because of that social, Tom Shoes is a perfect example, the 1-for-1 model, and then now there's 10 Tree, which when you don't just buy a t-shirt, but you plant 10 trees when you buy your t-shirt. And so it's these companies and brands that have done so well because of that model. And I think that's just businesses and companies and brands are just, it's like a non-starter. You're just going to have to, especially the more that the older generation becomes less of the buying power, and the 20 to 30-year-olds or the 15-year-olds now start to become the purchasing power. It's totally shifting.
Is there any advice that you would have given yourself now as a young entrepreneur just getting into the market, or getting into your first year of entrepreneurship, and maybe you didn't see it as an entrepreneurship when you started? What would you tell yourself?
I think I would tell myself, and it's kind of what I did, was just be open and say yes, and take the first step. The best example I have is when we started Reuben Shoe Society. Now 10 years later, we have, like I said, 2 schools. We just built this brand new massive high school because our elementary students grew up and needed a high school, and we have 550 students. But on day one, or the first few weeks and months of that international charity, if you would have told me you're gonna have to build a school and you're gonna do send 100,000 pairs of shoes around the world, I would have been I can't do this. I don't know how to do that. I am not even gonna get involved in that. But the first step was okay, we're gonna send 100 pairs of shoes to kids overseas and help them go to school, and that was an attainable first step. And then all of a sudden 100 pairs turned into 13,000 pairs, and then we were shipping a container of gently used shoes to a third world developing country, and we had no experience in shipping used goods to a developed nation. And but it was just one step, one foot after the next, and now here we are. And looking back over 10 years, we can see all that we've accomplished. And so just start is always the advice. Like, just what is the next bet? What is the next step? Like, what is the next easiest, best thing that you can do to move forward, and just do that. And then there'll be the next step after that. And don't get too overwhelmed with like the biggest picture, but just like break it down into like the smaller, more manageable chunks, and just start. Let's start next week when, you know, like it's not January anymore. Or don't start next month when you have money, or when your credit card is paid off, or don't start once you quit your job, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, there's always excuses like, I'll do this when. It's like, no, do it now. Do it now. Do the first thing that you can possibly do on that journey, or whatever that is, now.
No, absolutely. I think as I'm getting older, like I'm starting to see that, and it's hard. Like, why didn't I think this way before in my like early, middle, and late 20s? Now I think I've had more context of like time and seeing you do this 2 years ago and you get this result, instead of just being like people saying it. So I've definitely seen that. Just start doing it. No analysis paralysis. Just do it, and you'll find out. Because what you think you were going to start doing, it's not going to end up, and you'll be happy about it too. So definitely.
Yeah, it's always going to evolve. Yeah, you're never going to go from starting point to end point. Like, it's like that classic entrepreneur's diagram that you probably see, you know, like people think it's like here to here, and it's like backwards, upwards, back, and like all around. And like, that's it's any podcast you listen to, any entrepreneur you talk to, any success story, they're always the same. It's like, and also like usually the like so many failures, or the brink of like complete failure for the company. Like I'm sure you listen to this podcast too, but like the How I Built This podcast, it is always has like the founders of like Airbnb and Pinterest and Peloton, and like just listening to their stories. And there's always like the key themes of pretty much like to the point of like the company going out of business, and like just you have to have, I think for anybody nowadays that's doing something, you really have to do it for the right reasons, because it's not easy. Like, you're gonna get thrown around and pushed around and you know, like beat on, and if you don't have a strong, compelling reason why you're doing something, it's not gonna work out. And so that's the other thing I would say, is just like make sure you really understand your why, make sure it's values driven. And also stay true to that. Like, don't worry about the noise, you know, like people will tell you, well, that won't work because of this, or that's a silly idea. Nobody cares about that, or whatever it is. And I think, again, like as long as it's something that you're really passionate about, that you feel really motivated by, that you have a solid reason why you're doing it, do it and start now.
What's next for 2023 with Kove Ocean Foods?
Yeah, so what's next is really to get our protein puffs selling all across Canada. And then again, we're kind of like, we're growing very organically. And so we do have a profit model that hopefully, you know, as we sell and make money, we can invest in future product development. So we do have seaweed-based tortilla chips that are outstanding and delicious. And we did like a bit of a soft launch for them, but we had to pull them back. And so hopefully in the next few months, we'll be able to launch our tortilla chips and some other tasty seaweed products, and positioning ourselves as the leader of seaweed snacks in North America, and taking care of our oceans, our planet, and our company has an outstanding culture of work-life balance, and just, yeah, we just want to be a good brand that does good, and that people connect with, and that we're happy doing it too. Like, we're like, none of us want to be like stressed out trying to friggin' sell products and losing money and all this kind of stuff. So we're just, we're building a really strong foundation that incorporates balance and love, you know, love for each other, and love for food, love for good food, love for the planet, and all those good things. So, yeah.
When you do your TED Talk, because I'd love to listen.
Yeah, you bet. Well, this is a part of my TED Talk, giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and values and our vision and mission at Kove. So thank you.
Can I ask you a completely different question? You're not in Canada, are you, right now?
I am not. I am currently in Argentina. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
My partner is from this small town in the north part of Argentina here.
Oh,
so
cool.
we actually had a little rainstorm the last 24 hours. So it's kind of let off right now. But yeah, I'm here in a town called Oberá in Misiones in the north part of Argentina, and just been spending the holidays and visiting with his family. And then aside from Kove, I kind of mentioned it, I have my own vegan fashion brand called Voes, Voes, and we found a vegan footwear manufacturer in Brazil. And so we're actually leaving to go to Brazil tomorrow and going to be visiting this vegan footwear manufacturer in a town called Franca, and hopefully releasing my next line of vegan Chelsea boots made with cactus leather. So that's a part of the reason why I'm here. And just like I said, with the culture that we have at Kove, we all work remote, and nowadays it's so exciting with 2020, 21, 22, 23, the business is just international, and with platforms like Google Meets and Zoom and all that good stuff, can do business from anywhere.
My last question, is there a commercial or a marketing campaign that you've seen maybe when you were younger and that just stayed with you forever? Some sort of like, I've said this one before, but like for me, it's been like the Ferrero Rocher ones when I was younger, when they're in a fancy ball and the pyramid of Ferrero Rocher and everybody wants it. Like that one's always stuck to me in my mind. But is there an ad or a marketing that just like lives in your brain rent free?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a really good question. Nothing really comes to mind. Well, there's a couple maybe like old school campaigns, like Juicy Fruit. Like I could still remember like Juicy Fruit is gonna get, like it's so maybe like Juicy Fruit. You might be a bit too young for Juicy Fruit, but that's one. And then like the Coke versus Pepsi, like the Pepsi challenge. That really sticks out to me when I think of like marketing and ad campaigns. I guess the third one is probably like maybe it's Maybelline, the Maybelline ads back in the day. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Okay. No, that's fantastic.
Those are three ads that I will probably never forget.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing that answer, because those answers, just like you never know what actually works, right? In campaign marketing, they said a jingle, it's like this or that, but they stick with you for life sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have another one aside from Ferrero Rocher?
I think the Doughboy one, where like it's very Christmassy. Yeah, that one, and it's very Christmassy. It's like everybody's family, the fireplace or something, and you poke them, and that one. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Thank you so much. Yeah, just grateful for the opportunity. I think we covered everything, about seaweed and about our food products. Seaweed, I don't think I mentioned it, but I kind of alluded to it. It's incredibly good for you. Like it's, like kale and spinach, like a green vegetable that's loaded with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, good for your gut, good for your heart, good for your brain. And so, people should try to incorporate more seaweed into their diets. And I think that's happening in North America. I mean, it's been all around the world for decades and centuries, really. And our First Nations partners have been eating seaweed forever. So, hopefully we'll see the rise of seaweed. I know that it was whole food. It's on all these trend reports for 2023. Like kelp is one of the foods of the future. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the year. And if anyone wants to connect, our Instagram is at Kove Ocean with a K, so Kove Ocean. And I'm usually the one behind the screen there. So anyone wants to send a note or DM, follow along, and hopefully we'll have more exciting stuff now that we have completed the ownership transaction that was happening over the last 6 weeks. So we've been a bit quiet on the channels, but we'll be coming out strong.
Awesome. Thank you, Desiree. It's been actually a very nice conversation for me. So I appreciate it. I hope it's very valuable for other people listening.
Good. Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. It's been a pleasure, and stay in touch. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.